Get Shorty. That's the name of a very forgettable film from the mid-1990s, and it starred John Travolta and Danny DeVito. Travolta was the star, but if you know the physical attributes of DeVito, he had the title role. And Get Shorty might be also the title given to today's gospel story about Zacchaeus, the short tax collector. Let's look at three actors in the story: Zacchaeus himself, Jesus, and then finally ourselves. Zacchaeus lived in Jericho, one of the wealthiest towns in the Jordan Valley, and he was the chief tax collector. And he's described in the gospel as being a very wealthy man. Well, the reason a tax collector got wealthy because he was skimming off the top and also collecting for the dreaded Roman authorities. And Zacchaeus was in charge of the entire tax system, and so he would never have been a popular man in town, and it should come as no surprise that people didn't part the sea for him to get a better view of Jesus. He shows some initiative and climbs a tree. And in the story, Jesus continues his outreach to outcasts and sinners. He calls out to Zacchaeus to come down, and I mean to go to your house today. And this causes some grumbling among the crowd, saying he's hanging out with sinners. The story comes to a head when we see the transformation that takes place with Zacchaeus. He intends to change his life. He is going to repay anyone that he stole from, and he's going to live a correct and fair life from that moment on. Well, how might that speak to you and me today as we hear the gospel? One possible approach would be to focus in on the very last sentence, where Jesus says that he has come to search out and save what is lost. We need to be careful to understand that when the scriptures say that someone is lost, especially in the New Testament, it doesn't mean that they're damned or condemned, but simply something has gotten out of balance. Something that a person has done or values is not consistent with being a disciple of Christ. But we hear Jesus says, I always come to find the one who is lost and to search them out. Maybe you and I, in thinking about this gospel, may admit to ourselves that maybe we have become lost, that something in our life is out of place. Maybe we're entirely lost, or more likely, just a part of our life is out of place. How is Jesus inviting himself into our lives and encouraging us to change? We may not be corrupt tax collectors, but we may be misguided in some of our business practices. Perhaps we are lost in the way that we prioritize our lives. Just look at what takes most of our time and attention. Are they important in the long run, or am I simply being frivolous? Have I lost all or part of my prayer life? Have I misplaced my values in any way? In the movie Get Shorty, the folks are not looking to harm Shorty, but to have him star in a movie that they're producing. Jesus is looking for us, not to condemn us, but to find us. He wants to search out the ones who are lost. Our posture ought to be like Zacchaeus and let Christ come into our lives. We ought to allow him to invite us and to focus on changes we want to make.